Hey everyone, Internet PCS book reader here. Today I want to talk about The Age of Magical Overthinking by Amanda Montell. This is another one of those books I got because I like the cover and the idea of a book exploring overthinking, and it's on discount anyway, so I thought I might as well get them and maybe make another video out of it. This is a weird one. Right from the get-go, the book got high praise from The Atlantic, which is not a good thing right now. The print outlet has lately been putting mostly rage-bait content, justifying murdering the young and war in other countries. Currently, I think it is quite probably one of the most out of touch of all mainstream news media outlets. Their articles can be so out of pocket that they might as well come out of the onion. And unfortunately for this book, the out of touch also show in some segments. Early in the opening, the book described that every generation had their own brand of crisis, then proceeded to say that the 60s to 70s crisis used to be about fighting tyrannies and violence, things that are physical, and now it is more about inward crisis, the non-physical one. Which is a weird thing to say even if it's an exaggeration, because for one, inward fighting has always been the subject of even early philosophy, and two, the crisis against physical violence still persists into the world. Even if it's not in the outer world, that doesn't mean that it has been gone from the world. Which is why it's a weird way to open a book that is about exploring some of the damages that the world can give to our mind, since body and mind is correlated. Even the book acknowledges this once we go in further. But for now, we continue with the chapter about celebrity worship and how weird stance can be by exploring Taylor Swift's fans. I think it's a very interesting topic to go into, especially since we can see from Kendrick versus Drake beef that goes on a few months ago, where we can see Drake fans becoming conspiracy theorists to defend their favorite musician, which is a phenomenon that existed since way back in Michael Jackson or even Beatles fans blaming Yoko Ono instead of known douchebag John Lennon for breaking up the Beatles. But here, the book only scratches the surface of the topic of how stans can demand many things to their favorite, like Taylor Swift fan, forcing Taylor to speak on certain subjects, which has been proven by other artists to be useful, since celebrity voices, for better or worse, do increase exposure to the issue, which in turn make more people know about the issue outside of some dumbasses fighting in the comment section. Because quite a lot of people actually does not go to the comment section. Just because you already know about an issue doesn't mean that everyone else already know about that same issue. Again, this book underestimates how big the world is, and it goes on to make it seem like every one of these fans are demanding some parental figure from their favorite artist. Which, yes, partially true, but that is if you ignore everything I just said. And if you want to look at issues about people trying to replace father figures, you should look at the self-help and motivators industry instead of music industry, since it's a lot more brutal there. The celebrity worship of tech bros has made a lot of people the target of scams that deal way more damage to people compared to some stands of singers spending too much time on the internet after all. Celebrity worship has evolved so much with internet, especially with the rise of the red pill, and there are damages that can actually endanger fans of grifters like Gary Vee, where people can lose their entire life saving from these grifters, and the book is still talking about the most delusional and deranged Taylor Swift fans that can be angry to even other Taylor Swift fans for using the wrong word to praise her. Comparing these two kinds of celebrity worship, issues about rabid musician fan being inappropriate is so incomparably insignificant. But the book tried so hard to make it such a big deal, even bringing out about matrifagy, where in certain species of bugs, the children ate their mother. Like, what in the hyperbole are you talking about? It feels even weirder that she doesn't go into the motivators or tech bro celebrity worship at all, because in the next chapter, she went into the manifesting genre of self-help and called it a conspiracy. Which is arguably true, because a lot of these self-help gurus are mostly greedy grifters manipulating people's hope for a better future, like Jay-Z to make themselves richer. Which is one of the many topics that he goes into for a brief moment in the book. Although it's such a shame that the book was released before the Guardian investigation to his background, which shows that he's among as much as I'm among, because I've been to temples, I'm also a priest because I've been to church, and I'm also a Haji because I've sat in front of mosque a few times. The Guardian article also solidified how much his brand of mindfulness is capitalistic mindfulness, a bastardization of mindfulness to use mindfulness to become a money-making cult leader, while promoting leaving richness and worldliness behind while he himself is getting much richer. It's such a shame that there's this lack of focus on the writing that make it feels like quantity over quality because it did such a great job at describing the biases that makes people go into conspiracy theories that are easily debunked and how difficult it is to scoop out the misinformation out of people compared to how easily and how quickly it spread. The author also did a great job with the next chapter involving quantity over quality, where she goes through her own personal journey as a young girl being groomed by a manipulative adult into a relationship. She goes through her experience being on this one-man cult because of all her experience with romance at that time was romance means not saying sorry or it means having to suffer and endure even though there is no shame in living a toxic relationship, especially since she's just a young girl manipulated by a much older man. But it is the world she lived in during the time, and if there's anything you can get this book for reading, it is this part because it's a part that I hope no one else needed to experience for themselves because they've learned through the experience of people like the author. The author then go through her issues with self-image, how because of her desperation to get a job, she got a job in promoting makeup products despite her not wanting to get involved in this horrible overpriced beauty standard. But the chapter not only is just some surface level observation that doesn't go in depth into the history of beauty standard or how bad it can go in modern era with superhero movies and Korean fever, but its placement of the chapter right after talking about grooming and before talking about people with chronic illness that try to make connection with other people through making online content, lessen any impact it might have had otherwise. And the chapter about these people with chronic illness who spend some time with their online community also show that the book is not a very cohesive book overall. It's just a jumble of the author thoughts that she put into different kind of essays into each chapter. I think the best approach if you want to read this book is unfortunately to not have too high of an expectation and judge it by each entries separately instead of as one book. But even if you did that, a lot of the entries, as I mentioned previously, lost a lot of its value because of how the book is structured. Most of them are either lacking in focus or didn't go in depth enough on the topic it's trying to discuss. The next chapter, for example, talks about the 60-minute show, specifically the episode about the alien pentagon which no one cares anymore outside of some conspiracy nut jobs, which then segue into clickbait because that whole episode is just some clickbait, and then it goes to how quick the cycle of information goes nowadays, and about recency bias of information on how people seem to think that the information they receive is new because they just got them, which is quite a solid entry on its own, but being put in between chapters also makes it into just another cycle of information that went too quickly, and that's how a lot of the book are. There are a few decent entries, but they tend to overshadow each other, and since there are more misses than hits, the hit is weighed down by the misses too much to matter. For a book titled with Overthinking, the book doesn't feel like much thought was put into it because of how surface level a lot of the observation made in it. It feels more like articles rather than essays, maybe a habit from having to write articles quickly on website that publishes dozens of articles every day. A lot of the book feels very local in a way that made the book, for lack of a better word at describing it, is very white woman in social media. It doesn't help that it starts with Taylor Swift and her fans, which only adds to how white woman the book felt. To be fair, the book still had a lot of potential, and around the end point each chapter actually had more commonality with each other, bringing up different biases like recency bias, nostalgia, or confirmation bias. But too much of them in their current state only reach the surface level of each topic is trying to discuss, especially when a lot of the example can be used in multiple biases, which makes them feel like they should go into the same chapter. I honestly think you don't need to waste your time and money with this book to get the information in its current state because you can just try to follow another generic social media influencer that is active on x.com. I give this a 2. What do you think? Let me know if I missed anything, so leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it. See ya.